boy spots a suspicious item floating on the Danube River, which brings him an unexpected fortune. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to M&R TV and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. We stay so busy in our day-to-day affairs that we go on spending our time without even noticing what's going on around us. If we start paying more attention to our surroundings, we might come across something that can turn our lives upside down. Who knows how many golden chances we might have lost? Doesn't make sense? This story will leave you wondering if you actually missed some of the great opportunities just because you weren't paying enough attention to it. An extremely strange sight appeared in front of his eyes. On giving it a quick thought, he concluded that there was no possible way it was what he was thinking it to be. At first, he thought of ignoring it and moving forward without wasting any time. However, his curious nature waged wars against his busy schedule. At last, nature won, and the schedule was kept on hold for a while. Finally, when he went closer to get a clearer view, he could never have imagined what was in front of him will soon become the reason behind the biggest change in his life. Taking children's assistance in chores and helping them in their own little projects build a stronger bond. Undoubtedly, the most effective of all is parents taking their kids out on picnics, trips, and events of their interest play a significant role in their kids' character-building process. All these must be the thoughts on his mind when he asked his son if he would like to go out with him. The reason why this father asked his son for planning a day out was that he noticed his son getting distant from the family for quite some time. Kids do behave like that at times, but parents should never take this sudden twist in their kids' behavior lightly. Hoping that just a little talk can make a big difference, he waited for his kid to say yes for the going out plan. From project to the party, his son gave all the excuses as he didn't want to go out with his dad, while both the father and the son knew that he was lying and they needed to talk. After a long argument and accepting the fact that he didn't have any other plans for the day to escape his dad's company, the kid finally gave in and said, "Whatever you say." So his dad asked him to meet him at sharp 6 in the morning. He had the whole day planned in such a way that it will bring his son's old memory back, especially when they used to go boating together. Little did they know that this trip will not only take them down through memory lane, but also give them one surprise worth a lot. They always used to say, like father, like son. They had similar habits. They used to watch basketball matches together and loved the same street food truck. They stayed up all night playing Fortnite and went for cycling every Sunday morning. But there was one thing they enjoyed the most: boating. His father owned a small boat, and that was their escape place. A boat that took them straight to their adventure world. Far from the rest of the people, they had this feeling of freedom whenever they went boating. But situations were different this time. The sole motive behind this trip was to strengthen the father-son bond, be it by knowing what's going on in his son's life, or be it with the fishing and boating part. Finally, it was Sunday, and the duo was all set to head to the river that flows by their town, River Danube, Europe's second largest river. Let's just say everything was in favor of this trip. It was a partially cloudy day, and unlike other weekends, there were very few visitors willing to hit the river, which meant that the father and son would get much needed time together. His father was looking up to this trip with very high hopes. All he wanted was to cheer his son up. Unaware of how precise their timing was, the pair was heading in the same direction, which they were very well aware of. They have been at the same place many times before. In fact, there was a time when they used to spend time boating for hours every other weekend, and that day all those memories were flashing back. They were sailing down the Danube, enjoying the scenic beauty all around them. They were having so much fun together after so long a time, and as he expected, his son started to open up a bit about the issues he was facing at school, which became the reason for his weird behavior over the past days. This was the kind of conversation every father awaits, but this conversation was about to be interrupted by an intriguing discovery. So the conversation took a unique turn when his father's point of view started to differ from his own. The kid didn't want to face the guys who bullied him at the school, as his father had suggested. The kid was somewhere scared to get embarrassed in front of the entire class. Neither did he want to complain, as it will make him a crybaby. It took a while for his father to calm him down and start with the story of how he dealt with an even worse situation during his school days. At the moment, when he wanted his son to listen carefully, his son was actually busy looking at another side. What was it that was so important that he ignored the conversation? He called to him, but he was at the railing. His father was going inside to check the boat's direction and turn back towards home. It was time to get back to their place. Before he could even turn the boat into another direction, he heard his boy shout his name. He hurried back to the railing, only to find his boy confused and pointing towards the east. He was seeing something, but couldn't guess what it was. He told his father to take a look. His father, however, didn't think it was anything worth wasting their time. He told his son that it might be floating trash and nothing more. While his father asked to ignore it, the son was not ready to believe it was just trash. He was quite confident that in any case, what he saw at a distance cannot be just trash. He seemed to be so sure about it that he even asked his dad if he was ready to bet upon what it really was. This is where the scene starts to get interesting. Seeing his son get excited for a piece of trash was quite shocking for him. His son insisted on taking the boat into the direction of this weird sight to check it out. At last, his father gave in to his son's request and agreed for the bet, which brought back the bright smile on his son's face. Now they turned the direction of the boat and took it in the direction of this mysterious floating item. You won't believe what they thought to be trash turned out to be. Come up with all your guesses, as the chances are pretty less for anyone to be correct about what they found floating in the river that Sunday morning. As the boat was moving closer, they were still not able to say exactly what it was, but it looked like pieces of paper spread in a large area. His father told him that he was going to lose. He offered his boy an option to back out. Surprisingly, his son seemed surer than before. And then they kept on moving ahead. And when they were close enough to identify this thing, the boy screamed out of joy, seeing that he has won the bet. His father, on the other hand, stood there stunned and wondering, how can this be happening? He wasn't surprised by the loss as much as he was when he saw the floating item. Yes, it was no trash, and they didn't know what to do with what they had just seen. This was certainly a big twist to their boating trip, and they did not know what to do with it. Well, yes, there were pieces of paper, but not just any paper. Those were dollars. The bigger question wasn't about whose. There was no one nearby, which made it more complicated. Who left it here? They were clueless and didn't know if they should leave it as it is or should they do something about it. His father allowed him to get into the water and pick up the notes one by one. The kid picked up the notes, most of which were 500 euros. They collected the money, but couldn't tell the total as it was all wet and they couldn't count it. His son suggested keeping the money, but seeing this large amount of money, his father made a call at home about what they just found. They couldn't keep that money in any circumstance, even though that's what his son had suggested. There, floating in the river all around the young boy, was a pile of cash. After the boy was finished gathering all the money, he and his father made an important phone call, and then he was informed about the steps he has to follow next. When the police were informed about the money, they quickly reached the spot to make a report on the whole incident. They too were amazed by the total amount the boy found. The amount was too high to be found floating in the river. The first thing was to let those notes dry with safety. Also, the people who honestly handed over the money to the cops were also to be awarded. Give it a guess how much this amount would have summed up to be. The cops investigated, but it didn't seem like the money was earned through illegal dealing. According to Australian law, when someone turns in money to the authorities, they are awarded with 5 to 10% of the total amount. The total amount the young boy collected from the river that Sunday was $115,000 approximately. Later on, the boy and his father received $11,500 as a reward. This day became a memorable one for both of them, as they were finally able to work upon their father-son relationship, and they also got rewarded for it.